Yes, welcome. Let's finally affect event handling. We want to handle user input. All that remains is for our user input to update state correctly in our app, and it's very simple. So we're going to this will be done with event handlers like the ones we've used previously in the course. That is when we are trying to explain what props and components are and what event handling is. Now we are going to write a bunch of event handlers that should call set state. So whenever you're talking about event handling, you're supposed to hear this word set state. So set state is very, very important. This is the word set state. So we're going to be creating event handlers and we're going to be using it to set states. So when we create these event handlers, we'll bind them, then we'll use them to set states to update, and that is event handling. Now the complexity here lies in letting a child component event affect its parent state. So the DOM pattern for this type of communication is to bubble events up the DOM tree. By contrast, instead of explicitly bubbling actions up, we pass handlers down. So as you're passing handlers down, then the actions are going up, just like any other kind of information via props. Now when called, we'll make the necessary changes to the parent state, and that's what we're going to be doing. Now to illustrate how to handle events by passing handlers down, we'll start at the top of our component tree. The product's component state is affected by 3 user actions that are triggered in descendant components. Now those actions are filtering the list of products, submitting a new form, and destroying products. So those are the things we are going to be looking at. Now let's start with filtering the list of products. We simply want to set our local state to match whatever state is triggered in the filter component. This involves writing a simple handler that takes input and passes it to the state. So we're going to be writing handlers. So you can see this is handle filter. It's taking in filter input, and this dot set state to filter input. So this will be the latest state that is setting it to, which is taking place in the descendant component known as filters. So take note, we are creating handlers for the filter, for the save button, and for the destroy, which is this is what we are looking at. This is the destroy here, this is the save button, and this is the filter. So those are the things we are taking care of in this product .js. So once you finish creating the handlers, next thing to do will be to bind them by using this handle filter to bind this. So bind them, then after binding them, that is all. So you create the handlers, then you bind. Then make sure that when you now get down to here, that you take care of it by saying on filter equal to this dot handle event. So these are already in the other file that we created. So those are the new things we're adding here. Also make sure you do on destroy this dot handle destroy. Make sure you take care of these 2 things. Then on save equals to this dot save product. That's the handler. So having done that, we are going to move straight down to the next thing. Immediately after handling, doing event handler and binding, and as well affecting the change in the various components that we are looking at. The next thing will be to go to the filters. This is the product.js that we just looked in. So we'll look at filter.js. So I'll click here. Similar thing is happening here, but the only difference is now we have the constructor. We employ the constructor here because we are having changes. So we have constructor props, super props, and this dot handle change equal to this dot handle change bind. This is the normal binding. So here is where we create the handler handle change. So that once we click, you remember target is for click event, so that you can click and get the accurate sorting, which is the value and the name, and that's all. And once you do that, you use props. Very, very important. You must have to use props to pass it back. So that's why you say this dot prop dot on filter. So that is why when you go to product, you're able to see on filter here. You see here we have onFilter to be equal to this dot handle filter. So make sure you take note of it. That's why we're having onFilter here. So because the prop has to pass it back so that we can get what we need as the right answer, as the right event. So that is the same thing as this dot prop filter text, just the way we passed it in the other place. Then on change, this dot handle change. So take note of all these. So after this, we're going to be looking at the product form. So in the same way, we get to the product form. So the same thing happens. You're going to initialize this product form like we already know that we had the constructor. But here now we're having to bind these two, handle change and handle save. Very, very important. Then we'll now do the state. So take note, and you have to reset values. So this is where we handled change, so that once you click, you can be having the list that you want. Then set state, taking previous state as an argument and doing the proper saving. Then handle save is another thing. So make sure you take note of this, because handle save is going to affect the form, and all the forms now, all the form elements we have added to them on change equal to this dot handle change, and value equal to this dot change dot product dot name. If it is for name, if it's for category, it's category. If it's for price, it's price. So take note, those are the things we did. And before you start, reset value. This constant reset value is very, very important. So you initialize all of them: ID at empty string, category as empty, price, stock for false, and name as empty string. So take note of all these. So after handling product form, the next thing we'll go to is the product table. So go to product table. Really similar thing in product table, knowing that we have sortable column header here. So the same thing, using constructor to bring in the state, super props, sortable, sort by key and order, and destroy, as well as handle sort. So that those are the things. So these are the codes that we had written earlier for sorting. So make sure that all of them follow the same thing. So you have this, after getting, you have to push it in. So, and also take care of the undestroy, so that if you want to delete, you can delete. So after that, the next thing we'll have here is the sortable column header, and finally the product row. So sortable column header, this is where we have it. So take note, also have the constructor is handling. We binded the handlers, created them here, and did the appropriate rendering, making sure that we use props to take them to affect the parent component. So finally the product row, similar thing, brought in the constructor, then we binded the event handler, then we created the event handler here, and rendered it appropriately using making sure that we use props to do that. So once we are done with this and save, we should have our app to be working. If you want to delete bin bag, it should delete. Cheese, it should delete. If you want to add a new thing, YUU with price UU, category UU and price 890, and put it in stock, save. You can see we are having it here. You can sort by name, you can also sort by price. So everything is working perfectly. If you have any questions and concerns, please drop them in the comment section. Thank you.